Hey everyone, welcome back to LightHearted. I'm Britton.
And I'm Rachel. Just kidding.
April Fools.
But before we formally introduce ourselves, please make sure to download each episode of LightHearted. It really helps push the show out to more people. We were told by the higher-ups that Rachel and Britton needed a day off. So here we are. I'm Joanna.
And I'm Gia. You may have seen us in our teen episode. If not, go check that out. Anyways, since it's April 1st, we wanted to talk about something just really meaningful to us. Today, we're talking about how humor helps us cope with the things going on in our lives. Sometimes too much.
So you've probably noticed that humor shows up everywhere, especially when things feel awkward, stressful, or even painful.
And while humor can be one of the healthiest coping tools, sometimes it can become a way of avoiding what's really going on underneath.
So today we're just having an honest conversation about both sides of that. Before we talk about coping, we should probably explain how humor shows up in our lives.
Right? Because for some people, humor is occasional, but for us, it's constant. So Joanna, how would you describe your humor?
My humor is pretty dry and random. I mix dumb dad jokes, some dark jokes, and just random out-of-pocket sentences that just end up being funny because they're so unexpected.
Yeah.
How would you describe your humor?
I feel like my humor is dry as well. It's like kind of, you know how when you go outside and it's freezing cold outside, crisp, there's no humidity out there, nothing to pick up on? That's my humor. Alongside with being dry, I also kind of work my way in for vines and little quotes that I just think are funny, you know, and kind of work it into my humor. And I feel like there are so many types too. Sarcasm, dry humor, joking in serious moments.
Yeah, and a lot of that can come from how you grew up too. Like, were you in a family that joked a lot, or is that something you developed over time?
Yeah, I feel like it's a mix of both, kind of because the environment that I grew up in and just kind of built into my personality. My dad has the same kind of dry sarcasm I have, and pretty much all of my family do the vocal stems and just crack jokes and stuff, so.
Also, quick question. Do you ever feel like sarcasm gets taken the wrong way?
Oh, 104% of the time. I feel like, at least for me, same thing, just dry sarcasm in general. You say one thing, and then to a complete stranger, it means the entire opposite thing. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, no, I did not mean that, you know?
Like, it comes off bad.
It comes off super wrong, and I'm
not serious.
I'm not being serious, you know, I'm just joking, and literally whatever I say, just keep in mind that I might be joking. Like, completely.
Yeah, you never really know with you.
Yeah. I think humor becomes part of how you communicate, not just how you cope. It's how you connect, how you lighten a moment, how you read a room.
Yeah, but that also means it shows up when things get uncomfortable.
Yeah, 100%. You know, there's actually a reason why we default to humor. It takes the pressure off. Like, if something feels tense or awkward, humor kind of resets the moment.
Think about something as simple as awkward silence. When everything feels overwhelming, sometimes laughing about it makes it feel less heavy.
Absolutely. Let's dive into those real-life examples of those awkward situations. And for me, that's public speaking. That's doing direct eye contact, focusing on your breathing. When I went to high school, in one of my classes, I had this assignment. And it was to pick a specific topic and then go in front of the class and talk about it for like 5 to 7 minutes or something. You can have a script or you can not have a script. You just kind of start with one topic and then trail off. So I started with sports because I wanted to talk about golf, because I pretty much started with, like, I've been golfing since I could walk, and then all of a sudden, like, I couldn't hear what I was saying, and I could feel my heart beating out of my chest, and I run out of the classroom, and I had a full-blown panic attack in the hallway. So awkward, so embarrassing. Hated it. I think that has not haunted me, but, like, literally every speech, every presentation I had to do, I would envision that, because going in, I didn't have a script. I literally just walked up there and was like, I'm gonna wing it. Did not go well. And what about you? Do you have a real life example of an awkward situation?
I don't exactly have any specifics, but I know a lot of the times for me, if I'm like in class at church or whatever, and the teacher will ask a question or want to know if we have any topics we want to talk about, and then nobody has anything, so the room goes dead silent. So I'm trying so hard. I'm like, okay, don't laugh, don't look at him, don't say anything.
Yeah.
Because I don't want him to like call on me and be like, oh, do you have anything to say? And I'm like, no.
Please don't call on me.
Or like in that same situation, like I'm sitting across the table from someone and I make direct eye contact with them and we're just trying so hard not to laugh. Like it's so
the worst.
The dead silence. I can't do dead silence.
Yeah.
Or for me, I'm not very good with emotions. So when somebody is upset or crying or just not having the best day, I am so awkward around it. Like I try my best, but like I don't know what to do.
Trust, I know.
Like I genuinely, all I know what to do is to just kind of just sit there and I'm like, it's okay.
I think it makes the situation more awkward, which is kind of funny, but
yeah. It's because I just don't know what to do. I'm just not used to like that, so I just don't know how to deal with it. Because I don't know, I'm like, does this person want a hug or do they not? Because if they don't want a hug, they're gonna hit me.
You know what I've learned in those situations is to ask, do you want comfort or do you want advice? Like, do you want me to sit there or do you want me to like help you to like talk you through this, you know?
Mm-hmm. Here's the thing though, I can do kind of the comforting part. Like I can sit there, I can like just sit with you. If they ask for advice, it's all out the window because I got nothing, babe.
Can I provide you with a sarcastic comment?
I have chocolate.
Yep.
That's about it. That's as much as I can do.
Mm-hmm. Not just awkward situations, but serious situations. Humor is kind of a cushion to what's happening. And speaking of serious situations, have you ever had a difficult life moment where you struggled to not use humor to cope with that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think for me, I had a minor argument with my sister one time about a very serious topic, and we just weren't seeing eye to eye on things, and I was very upset. And later, she tried to sit down and have a serious conversation with me about it, and you'd figure out my viewpoints and like why I was so upset, but I'm just not used to having those conversations, so I was very awkward and very uncomfortable, and every time she would ask me a question, I would get very awkward and just kind of laugh and be like, yeah, she'd ask a question and my mind would go blank and I would just be like, I don't know, because like I'm just not used to those conversations, so I get very, very awkward when someone tries to have a serious conversation with me. So yeah, how about you?
That's fair. For me, I had a difficult life moment a little while back, less than a year ago, and had to have a lot of serious conversations, which was not fun for me, especially some of them was over the phone. And if you ever have a serious conversation over the phone, so much worse. It's way more awkward and can't see the person's face. I don't know, I had to make a bunch of changes. I had to sit down and talk because I was moving like 7 hours away from the life I had known for 12 years. So I had to have a lot of serious conversations that did not love. And I indeed did crack jokes throughout the whole process, even though I was struggling internally.
Do you feel like the jokes like helped the conversation, or would have been better to maybe remain serious? Like, did it help the situation any?
I feel like it did. In some cases, I probably should have stuck to being serious, but I think it distracted my attention from how stressful it actually was. Because, I mean, I changed colleges within a month and got my driver's license and I moved houses, and it just really stressful, and I think it did comfort that situation a little bit.
I think humor gives people a sense of control, like for you in that situation where you might otherwise feel uncomfortable or unsure. It kind of helps cushion it and not feel so stressful.
Okay, so here's where it gets a little tricky. Sometimes we're not just using humor to cope, we're using it to not deal with something, you know, pretty much just avoiding it.
Like when someone asks you a real question and you immediately turn it into a joke, or when a conversation starts getting serious and you make a joke to turn it into something more light.
100%. I feel like that's just our way of avoiding the conversation to go too deep, you know? And so we laugh and try and keep it fun. But do you ever realize in the moment that you're joking and like you become self-aware that you're avoiding the entire situation?
Yeah, I feel like it's usually after the fact that I maybe realize that I probably should have been more serious instead of in the moment. But yeah, for sure. How about you?
Yeah, I feel like I try and pick up social cues and like body language and stuff. It just does not work out. So I just kind of laugh and move on. I think people who are just naturally funny can fall into this without even noticing.
Yeah, because it works. It keeps things comfortable. It keeps things easy. But that can also keep things surface level. I mean, you can have a good conversation with somebody with jokes and stuff, but like when you never have like a good deep conversation, it's like you don't have that connection. You know what I mean?
I 100% agree. I feel like you don't get that like personal connection, you know? They don't really get to know who you are actually. You know, it's just kind of surface level.
Yeah, like, oh, that's the funny friend.
Yeah.
It's like,
and then you have no chance of being who you are and get to have those actual deep conversations when you want to. Like, if you're someone who's known for being funny, there's this kind of unspoken expectation that you'll always be that person. Mm-hmm. You're the one who keeps things light whenever it ultimately gets dark and deep, you know?
But that can get exhausting because it doesn't always leave room for you to be real. Think about the people in your life who you don't feel like you have to perform around.
Yeah. Like, I mean, with you, I feel like it's pretty much just goes in waves. Like, you kind of can't tell if we're being serious or really deep, and if you're an outside perspective of our conversations,
we look crazy.
Have no clue what's going on, and I mean no clue.
You could walk in the room and we're talking about one thing, and then you walk out of the room and you come back in 2 seconds later, it's a completely different conversation.
Yeah, there's really no catching up. But
like, we're laughing, we're joking, and then it's like we're both sobbing. Like, it's just...
But I feel like that's the pro of us, is because we can be real and not perform, but also be fun, you know?
Yeah.
Have you ever had a moment where you were honest instead of funny? Like, completely honest. And it actually changed the conversation? I think that's also where deeper connection kind of resides. You quit with the jokes and keep it honest, pretty much.
Yeah. I think that's like what I said a minute ago, is just like having deeper conversations, because, I mean, making jokes is fun. And, like, it's great. It's good. It's important for, like, friendships and stuff. But you do have to have those deeper conversations for a better connection. So, obviously, the answer isn't stop being funny. That's not realistic.
Ridiculous, yeah.
Yeah, that's not realistic. And, honestly, not the goal.
Mm-hmm. I think humor is a really good thing, but it's about being aware of why you're using it in those certain moments. Mm-hmm. You know, so some good questions to ask yourself are, is this helping me get through something, or is this helping me avoid it? Mm-hmm. It's really important to remember.
Mm-hmm. And also, who are the people in your life that you feel safe enough to be honest with? Because humor and honesty don't cancel each other out. They can both coexist.
Yeah, they can intertwine and honestly have fun with it. But
like we said, I mean, it kind of goes back and forth with our conversations, where it's like, they can definitely coexist, for sure.
And last question here. What helps you recognize when it's time to be serious instead of joking?
So this week, just notice it.
Notice when you make a joke, change subject, or lighten a moment that maybe did not need to be lightened. Not in a judgmental way, just awareness. Because sometimes we don't even realize that we're doing it in the moment until like after, and we're like, oh, maybe I should have been a little bit more serious.
Yeah. So what's the big takeaway here? Humor really is a gift. It helps us connect, and it helps us cope, and it makes life feel a little less heavy.
Yeah, I agree. But the strongest relationships are the ones where you don't have to hide behind the humor, where you can laugh and also be honest about what's actually going on.
Thank you so much for joining us today. If you're enjoying LightHearted, don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review. It really helps us reach people who might need a little more light in their lives.
And be sure to join us over on Instagram and TikTok at LightHeartedPod to see clips of our episodes and behind-the-scenes content. And be sure to check out our merch. The links for everything we mentioned will be in the show notes below.
And don't forget to stay lighthearted.